Hi, this is Karina from High Tension, and you're listening to the Moshpit on Sin.
Hey punk rockers, metalheads and rock and rollers, this is Stefan from the Moshpit on Sin, and we have on the phone a living legend of the Australian heavy music scene, formerly a singer of the band Young and Restless. She now unleashes powerful screams in the band High Tension. I'm of course talking about Karina Utomo. Live from her car, welcome to Moshpit, Karina.
G'day, Stefan, live from the Subaru.
Karina, last year you released High Tension's sophomore album Bully, which was actually Sin's Australian feature album of the week when it came out. So has the release of that album given you great momentum? Because the band's been very active recently in terms of, the heavy music news.
It has given us some great momentum, and there's things that we've done recently that I never anticipated, we would be able to do. Especially when I started this project, obviously the intention with High Tension was that it would be ultimately like just a really heavy band, and I thought that perhaps that would close off some of the kind of opportunities like playing at Laneway and more recently Splendour. That's something that I never sort of even had in my goals. So it's been a really nice surprise, and we're really excited that despite the type of genre, the type of music that we play, we can still be included in festivals like that, which is really exciting.
So yeah, speaking of that, the big happenings concerning High Tension at the moment are the live shows. So talking about that, our show is of course, as you know, the Moshpit. So what's a High Tension Moshpit like?
It depends where you are, and I guess it also really depends on the environment. I mean, I felt that the Laneway experience was very different to, our usual, kind of smaller room vibe playing with, other heavy bands. But I think the core experience is about engagement, and I don't know, we just try and it's pretty simple. We just try and play the, performance is an incredibly crucial thing for us, and that's always been the number one factor about being in this band. I guess it's just, I think it's just performance, and I think it comes out in, I don't know, in that way of, it's very hard to explain what the High Tension experience would be for me as opposed to someone who was, watching us, I guess.
Now, I actually saw a bit of footage you guys upload on YouTube channel of the Laneway Festival, and you really were getting to that crowd, and I found it quite interesting because, it's something that King Parrot does as well, but I was watching an AC/DC documentary kind of recently, and Scott Ian was talking about Bon Scott. It was actually for the Let There Be Rock, the movie,
yep.
And he was saying that, Bon Scott used to go into the crowds, but he said that you can't really do that anymore, saying that the crowds have changed and it's not really safe to do that anymore. What's your opinion on that?
I think that, it would be a tremendous shame if I felt that I couldn't go into the crowd, because I think that's part of the gratitude that I have for the people that have, come and attended our shows. And I think that there is such a high level of trust that I've always had with the crowd that, I understand that there's implications involved to being so close and like physically, but I feel like that there's so much, I still feel very much in control, and I feel that the crowd also feels in control, and I feel like there's a lot of unspoken communication in that really kind of, spontaneous moment when you are in the crowd and you're relying on them to hold you up and to, to be there for you essentially. And
Moshpit adequate.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I haven't, I've never felt uncomfortable, or I've never felt scared about doing it. And I think that it's such a huge part of what we do, and I get a lot out of it. And I think that, that's part of experiencing a heavy band. It is like as much about an oral experience as it is physical. So I don't know. I think it's essential, and at this moment, it's not something that I'm concerned about not being able to do.
You are playing as well at Splendour in the Grass. I haven't actually been to that festival, but I'm thinking of going. Considering High Tension will be there, of course, along with other great bands like Violent Soho and The Strokes. So, are you expecting a different kind of vibe there?
I think so. I think that with these kind of like in this type of setting, it is a real challenge for us because we are playing essentially to crowds that have, haven't ever heard of us, let alone, they probably don't even find heavy music very appealing. But our role is to try and, expose them to it, I guess. And whether they like it or not, that's fine. But yeah, it'll be really exciting. And I think playing in those types of events, it's just such a diverse crowd. It's a wide audience, and and in terms of the sound, and again the environment, it's just it's just a totally different thing. And yeah, I think it'll be. I don't know what it's going to be like, but but I'm pretty nervous.
No need to be. So you're also supporting Deafheaven on their Australian tour as well. So how did that come about? Did they choose you?
I think so, to a degree, but we definitely put our hands up. When we find out about bands coming to Australia, and obviously we're really into that band and we're fans, we freaking put our hands up and let them know that we're available. So yeah, so that worked out really well, and we didn't, there's so many incredible bands that would have been a great support for Deafheaven. So we're so grateful that they, that we got picked to be the main support. I think it's really exciting. Mike Dezelans, our guitarist, is a massive Deafheaven fan. Yeah, we're stoked.
Great. So yeah, we actually interviewed Deafheaven recently. Not exactly sure which member that was, but. Now, your last album, Dead Beat, was nominated for an ARIA. So what was that experience like attending that awards show? And how delighted were you to receive that nomination? It
was pretty surreal. We wrote that album quite quickly. Like, we got the, we got together, the band got together, we played our first show in December 2013, and within a few months we had written our first album. So, there was a lot of spontaneity and not urgency to that record, but we were really excited about starting High Tension, and we didn't anticipate that it would go that far. So when I got the phone call, to say that we had been nominated for an ARIA, I just thought it was a joke. It was just like, oh my God, our freaking, punk, metal, whatever it is, album. We didn't anticipate, we didn't have that kind of expectation for, for our first album that we wrote in a matter of months, completed I think took us a couple of weeks to record as well. And, I think that, it was really bizarre because we had made no compromises on that album, and then we were at the ARIAs and it was just really bizarre, but we really wanted to go because I kind of just said, oh, it might not happen again, so let's do it. So it was really fun, and we had a good night, and we played. It was really funny because after the ARIAs we played at Blackwire, which is this incredible DIY venue, a really incredible record store, and they have shows there every week, and it's free. Most of the time it's free or like a small donation, and they've always supported small, really good bands. So playing at Blackwire after the ARIAs was us kind of coming back down to where we kind of started, so it was awesome.
Now, you were just saying before that when you got the call, you thought the nomination was a joke. Now, a lot of people...
I thought it was a mistake, yeah.
Now, a lot of people would say, not my opinion though, that the ARIAs as a whole is a joke. So, what's your opinion on the whole ARIAs thing?
I don't know. I don't think it's a joke as much. I do think that heavy music is really still underrepresented in the mainstream media in Australia. So, you know, it still doesn't get any airtime, like the heavy music, the heavy album nomination, whatever. I think it's like hard rock and metal and punk. Like they put all of those genres together, yet entirely different and has different audiences. And I think that still has a lot of progress to make, and that's something that needs to change. But I think, I don't know if it's, I haven't really, you know, it doesn't make me angry or anything like that. But I think it's fine to celebrate moments, you know, achievements in Australian music and having things like the ARIAs. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of underrepresentation, so you did the racket for International Women's Day, and you know what? I didn't know you could do radio, Karina.
Neither did I. I was just having a bit of a yarn on air.
Is that your first radio gig?
That was my first official radio gig, but you know, I was lucky because Lachlan was there right beside me producing the show, so he did all the technical stuff, and I did, you know, I made a lot of boo-boos, but and it was live, so, but you know, that's sort of what makes it a bit fun, right?
Yeah, but it was pretty fun though, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was really good, and I think what I enjoyed most about doing that particular racket for International Women's Day, which was really good timing too, because it only happened on the Tuesday. I discovered a lot of new heavy bands with women as the front person, and when I was first approached to do it, I was a bit concerned that I couldn't fill it with the kind of music that I wanted to fill it with, that had, like that had a woman represented in the band. But I was really surprised and felt really hopeful because I ended up having so much incredible music that I couldn't play all of it. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, we actually on the Moshpit as well. We did a Women Who Mosh special, 3 hours of female-fronted bands. You were on the last hour,
Fantastic.
actually.
Fantastic, thank you.
Of course. So now both, well, I like to think so. Both our show, Moshpit on Sin, and the Racket, of course, brought attention to women in the heavy scene. So do you think that the representation of women are getting better in punk and metal?
I think so, and I think it's one of those things that will continue to progress, but progress slowly. But excuse me for a sec. Sorry about that.
I thought you were recording a song. I'm just kidding.
But I think that I think the more women, the more that you represent, the more comfortable women feel in starting their own projects and fronting their own bands. It will just, it's the effect of visibility, and more and other women will then feel more comfortable to participate or have, be inspired to want to start their own band or, get on the radio or whatever. So I think it's just about maintaining that visibility.
Awesome. Now, I often ask local bands their opinion on the Indonesian heavy music scene, because many of them have said to me that, when they go there, they're treated like celebrities there, and others hear about this and they really want to head over there for that reason. Now, Karina, yeah. I think you're born in Indonesia, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and I know you've spent a few years down there. You came back. You went back there after you lived here in Australia for a while. But so I think you're the perfect person to ask. What is the Indonesian scene like, and why do so many Aussie bands want to tour there?
Okay, I can answer this in a number of ways. I think you have to look at the history of Indonesia first and foremost, and how much of an influence like music is embedded in the traditional culture. I grew up with traditional music and traditional dancing ceremonies. So from a young age, and this is this is across all parts of Indonesia. Music is a really, music and the kind of like music and culture that surrounds music and art is such an integral part about being Indonesian. There's also another reason why a lot of Australian bands want to tour over there. It's actually cheaper than, say, if you were from Melbourne or Sydney playing in Perth. So there's the economical factor as well, that it's, actually better value, and you could cover more ground and play to bigger audiences because, Jakarta is a city of 20 million people. And then I guess that excitement that they have with having overseas bands visit is perhaps a political thing as well. Like Indonesia is a country with not that many allies, so, and, through the years have been kind of viewed as, there's been travel bans to go to Indonesia with, the Bali bombings and other sort of, because it's it's a country with the highest percentage of Muslims per capita. So there's all these factors, and I think that, when Indonesians react that way and get really excited when, punk bands from Melbourne come and play shows, I think it's just, they've been deprived of it. So, of course, they're excited.
And also, Joko Widodo is, well, I've spotted him wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt, so
yes,
that probably helps as well.
Well, yeah, no, it's really exciting because the Indonesia's president is he's the first that haven't come from that line of. He's basically broken the chain of people in power that have either been affiliated with the Suharto family or they're conglomerates of so he's basically broken that chain, and he's viewed as like one of the people. He loves Napalm Death, and he goes to metal shows. He was at the Metallica show, having a mosh. So yeah, it's pretty awesome that he's the president, and he's also the most experienced. I think he's the first president that actually had experience in running a local government.
So are you basically saying to all the high school bands right now to have their schoolies in Bali or in Indonesia and play some shows there?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot more to see in Indonesia than Bali. Like I know that a lot of punk bands have played around Java, for example, which is where my family's from. But it's such a diverse country, and Java your experience in Java would be so different than like if you went to Sumatra in terms of food, the dialect, the music, the traditional culture. It's just such an epic epic country.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but High Tension hasn't toured Indonesia or outside Australia except for New Zealand. Is that right?
That's right. We have played. We played at South by Southwest in 2014, and we played in Austin, and we did like some small shows in LA as well. But there were just like a handful of shows, not like a full blown tour.
So, is there any chance to take the band overseas?
Yeah, we definitely have that in our plans. But we also want to do things when the timing's right and when it is a good enough opportunity to, take that time away from family and work and other commitments that we have outside of the band. So, but yeah, it's looking good. It's definitely on our to-do list.
And Indonesia, of course.
Definitely. And again, it's just about timing.
So what attention have you received overseas, from fans online? Excluding Indonesia, because I assume that heaps of them have hit you up. We had our first Polish review for Bully, and it was really exciting, and
I was really flattered because he described the release of a High Tension album as, you know, the release of equivalent to the excitement that he gets from the release of the Sony PlayStation. So that was really fun. It was really quite interesting to read some of these reviews that are written in Polish or French through Google Translate, because I'm sure that there's some translation gone wrong. But you still get the gist of it. So yeah, we've had like a couple of European, reviews, and I'm not even sure how, they found out about the band or anything like that. But yeah.
Do you, so let's just say you could go to any of these countries, I guess like, keeping in mind where the popularity is, where do you think would be the best place to start?
I don't know. I think for us it's just like, I know, Europe has been recommended by a lot of people that know us and have had experience, taking bands to Europe and so forth. So, but I think for us, like, we kind of see it as a, we want to get something out of the, like, we want to be able to have a holiday as well. So, like, we'd love to do, a tour of Japan, Indonesia. Like, I'd love to go to China, places like, and Korea. Those kind of places really interest me, because there's a lot going on in those places that it would just be interesting to get insight through, the younger crowds. I think those places, the places where, there's instability and there's history are probably the most interesting and exciting places to visit, especially if you're playing music. So.
Awesome. Now, I love your video for Collingwood, and as a Melburnian, I loved all the little references included. So, what's your relationship with that suburb or Melbourne as a whole?
Well, at that time, so I'm originally from Canberra, and I moved to Melbourne about 10 years ago. And I actually lived on Evie Street for many, many years. And I think that song was just a really spontaneous song that I wrote about, it was sort of just showing my gratitude. It was a bit of a love song to Collingwood. And, I know I've said this again, like, I think the environment that you live in, can make such a positive impact to your life. And I think it was just a bit of a story, to tell that that I wanted to put into a song, I guess. And it was great that a lot of people related to it, like ferrovating and high-fiving people on Smith Street is, if you've been out and about to see music and feel exhilarated from it, that's something that, some people feel compelled to do.
Yeah. Now, you also work in the fashion industry, so maybe just briefly, what can you tell us about what you do there?
I work as a bit of a facilitator. I work with brands that I really like and help them to basically still, be able to produce and be creative through their brand. And, it's been something that I've been doing for a number of years now.
Where is there high attention, in the music industry or in the fashion industry?
Look, I think it's both. I think it's pretty balanced. I really enjoy working in fashion because I'm not a creative in that sense. I can still be creative, but I'm not creating, and it's something that I really like, because I feel like at times my experience in music and my experience in fashion can be quite intrinsic, because it's really just about working with people and working with what you've got, working with an audience. So there's a lot of similarities, and I work with people, like the people that I work with in the fashion industry are, designers that I respect, and they're, independent, business owners. And so I appreciate, the amount of work and that goes into like being able to have your own brand. I just find it like, I find that it's not like work, because I really value and respect these people, and we are on the same page in terms of, our values, and so it's pretty balanced.
Mm. Now, your voice is gnarly as hell, so how do you take care of it, and how do you warm up?
I do really traditional warm-ups. I think one of the best things that you can do to maintain your voice is to take care of yourself. So I just try not to get sick, and when I do get sick, I make sure that I get plenty of rest. For a lot of vocalists, I think that, because you use, your respiratory system so much in your throat, that it becomes more susceptible to sickness. So I'm really always really mindful of that. So I just try and take it easy. And, I just do like traditional methods of warming up, and like scales and things like that. And then you kind of find ways that, you find methods that are more, effective for you. And you might have to try a few different methods to get it right. But it definitely helps. And I think that warming up for me is almost like, it's crucial to the preparation of performing or recording, because it puts me in a state of relaxation as well. So, yeah.
So who influenced that voice? What singers did you look up to develop that scream?
Quite a few different singers. When I was in Young and Restless, I really loved, and I still do really love, Matt Cawthron of the Bronx, and the singer from Jesus Lizard, and at the moment I really love the singer from Carcass. He's got an incredible range, and I think it's different. It's different types of singers, and I think it's important to, experiment with your voice, and you eventually find, I will never sound like a man, but I could, try and emulate certain styles, and it comes out in a different way because of the physicality of it.
Mm. So who are your friends in the Aussie scene? I know you're mates with King Parrot, and we've got Morgan Lee Brown from Acolyte who helped me track you down. But who else is there?
Totally Unicorn. Drew from Totally Unicorn has stepped in. When we're playing in Sydney, he's been the one doing the death metal duet for Lapindo, which was originally Matt Young from King Parrot. And recently I did a song for Totally Unicorn for their new album, and they released a 7-inch single, and I'm on the B-side for that. So that was a nice little exchange. Heaps of friends like Low, I Exist, Outright. Yelena from Outright is, one of my favourite people in the world. She's such a incredible force and such a positive, radiant influence, I think, to young women and young men everywhere. He's friends. He's mates.
It's good to have good mates.
Yeah, definitely.
Aussie mates, awesome. What's because you've been working very, very hard lately especially. So obviously that's paramount to the band's success. But people who obviously download music illegally probably don't understand how much work goes into music, how much money you put into music, and how little you, of course, get back from it. So we'd like to know, what is your work ethic with the band? Just, when you're absolutely on, because I know you take a lot of breaks.
My work ethic with the band?
Yep.
I think that all of us make time to work in the band, to write, to do other aspects of the band, like even like social media content stuff. We do everything basically internally where we can. So, but I think the way that we work, we want the band to be, fun, and we work as hard in our day jobs. So then we have that freedom to be able to spend time with the band, if that makes sense, because there's it's just another piece of the pie that we've got to. Hang on, that's a really bad. The analogy worked in my head, but now I can't seem to articulate it. But it's just like it's a part of what things outside of the band is as much part of the band as the band is on its own, if that makes sense. So everything outside of the band is an influence on the band. So we don't want to neglect any areas in our lives just to solely dedicate it on the band. But when we do work on the band, we make sure that everyone's on the same page. We don't make compromises, and and that keeps and I think that just keeps everyone happy, and it keeps the morale high, and it just means that we're completely happy with our output.
Absolutely. So now you have obviously your shows with Deafheaven and Splendour in the Grass. What is next for High Tension?
We'll be writing. So, yeah, we're really excited about that.
You've got some songs written already?
We're starting on Saturday. So, yeah. Well, we've started, yeah.
Okay, so I guess you've got some pretty great momentum going, so I guess you just want to keep that going.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a shame you guys didn't get to go on Soundwave, though. I bet you would have loved to have done that.
It doesn't matter. It is a shame that had to end, but it's all good. We're not, there's worse things that are happening.
That's true. Well, there's always Legion, there's always Unify.
Yeah, exactly.
High Tension sophomore album Bully is out now, and they will be supporting Deafheaven in June and playing Splendour in the Grass Festival in July. Thank you so much for joining us, Karina.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'll speak to you soon.